Hey everybody, just a quick word because sometimes folks don't see stuff on social media, so I want to make sure you don't miss it. But the recording for next week will not be going up because sadly, RoShawn and I had to reschedule because she had plans on our normal recording day. And I forgot that we rescheduled. So when she texted last night that she was ready to start, I was not home. And I'm very sorry that had happened, everyone. I got sick last week and had to reschedule a bunch of stuff for this week. And I have been so focused on those reschedules that I forgot about that one. So my bad. Thank you for your patience. And hopefully we will be on track after that. Love y'all. All right, folks. Jeff finally got a memorable URL. It's jeffsawesomepods.com. His two main shows are going strong. Shattered Worlds RPG is an actual play pod featuring spaceships, magic, zombies, and, yes, robots. And Foolish Wits is a weekly chat show about writing, Shakespeare, daily nonsense, and comedy. Find all the info you need at his sweet-ass new URL, jeffsawesomepods.com.
This is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Some Spoiled, a Song of Ice and Fire 2, the co-host Switcheroo, the rereading, Return to Westeros HBO Spoiler Edition, uncut, uncensored, and too hot for TV, bringing you the greatest hits from the new millennium, 2000. Call in with your request now. In this episode, we are covering A Storm of Swords. A Storm of Swords. A Storm of Swords. Prologue and Chapter 1, Jaime. In these chapters, we've got to spend some time in Chett's head, which nobody likes.
It's true.
And then we go to Jaime, who shaves his head, and RoShawn has some feelings about that. Welcome to Unspoiled.
Monsters are dangerous, and just now kings are dying like flies.
I am the king!
Fuck the king.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm RoShawn.
So.
Alright, so before we start, I need you to share with the class your prologue situation.
Okay. So, guys, I don't know what copies y'all are working with. RoShawn has got, I think, a regular, paperback, right?
I do, yeah. I have the set that came out.
Right.
The paperbacks all in one that Jaime
Thanks, Jaime.
So, yeah. You, on the other hand.
I have the illustrated edition on my Kindle, because I'm trying to use the illustrations from it for posts. So, guys, it's, we got the contents, and then we have a note on chronology from George, which just tells us, that
helpful.
A lot of this is concurrent with Clash of Kings. And then we have a foreword, which I didn't realize who it was by. So that was the reason for my confusion. If I had, I would have realized. So it says foreword, and then under that it says preamble. And I'm like, preamble? And just out of curiosity, I scrolled ahead. Then it's another section that says amble. And I'm like, oh, okay, we got preamble, amble, and then post-amble, I guess. No, after amble, we've got stroll. Which, I guess amble is I'm thinking amble is side to side, you're ambling, looking at flowers and but a stroll is more straight. That's how I'm picturing it. Mm-hmm. Then we've got brisk walk. So we've taken the stroll up a notch because we're late. We were spending too much goddamn time ambling. and we forgot we were supposed to meet John at the coffee shop at 3 o'clock. So we've got brisk walk followed by scamper. That I cannot speak to because I don't want to be doing any scampering at a coffee shop with John. I guess if you have enough coffee, it could make you scamper.
A scamper is going to break out.
All right.
Coffee. That's just
after that. Just run. Just flat out. That's it. After that, you would think it was over. No, flee. Flee. Which I just feel like that's not the energy you want right now. I don't know. I don't know. I just doesn't feel like it fits. And then we have post-amble, which I truly thought was the last one. I was wrong because there is one remaining. Stumble to a conclusion is the name of the last section. And for those waiting in suspense for who wrote this, Neil Gaiman, ladies and gentlemen. Neil Gaiman wrote this foreword. And no, I did not read it because I didn't notice it until because I wasn't reading it in print. I was listening to the audiobook and it does not have this. So I have no idea if the theming of each section goes with the title. I feel like Neil Gaiman would just do this and he wouldn't care about the thematics of it, actually.
I just really appreciated how in real time, as you were discovering this, we were both so confused. And then when you realized who wrote it, how clear everything became. We were just both like,
Not only that, but
okay.
It starts off, and I read this to RoShawn, I'm in pandemic lockdown in New Zealand as I write this. And RoShawn went, oh, there it is. The pandemic has us all doing weird shit right now. This is Neil Gaiman's version of learning to bake bread.
This is a sourdough starter.
Oh, that's going to be the next theme. Starter. Proofing. Punching down. Forming. Second proof. Okay. So, anyway. Prologue. Chett sucks.
He really does. He is terrible. We find out why he has been sent
He's
to the
an
wall,
incel.
what he did. He is. He didn't even really do
All
nothing.
I did was stab a bitch who wouldn't fuck me. What's the big deal? It was the one good thing that ever happened to me was watching her die, and you guys took it from me. Jesus Christ.
Right, just one moment when I have so much potential. If he had gotten in front of a judge in the United States, that judge would have been like, "Oh, it's fine. This boy has so much potential. Who's just counting his time, sir?"
He's already suffering so much pain because of the boils on his face. Everybody should just feel sympathy for him. Anyway.
Exactly. So yeah, this is the mutiny plan. He is and some others are going to kill Mormont and some other people in their sleep, like brave men.
Oh man!
And then scamper away in the night. Yeah. So a bit of this is just him telling us, what they have planned, and also reminding us how terrible these conditions are. Everybody is cold. There's not enough food. Chett's supposed to be out tracking a bear, which I'm not even sure exists. I mean, there was a bear print, but who knows how old that shit was.
Yeah, it's interesting because we don't really get any resolution to that. It feels like something's being set up there. And maybe it will pay off, but it doesn't in this prologue, which is surprising.
Yeah. And he's got his crew of miscreants.
Miscreants feels really tame, but I will allow it.
He's got is it Small Paw?
Yeah, that sounds right.
And there's a Small Paw, there's somebody named Lark, there's Chett, there's
the Sister Man. Yeah, that's what they call him, even though I assume he has an actual name, but it's not mentioned.
Right. fucking small paw on this bird.
Bless him.
It's such a like it feels like a really small part of everything that's happening, but for some reason I was just really tickled by his concern for the bird and also his desire to keep it after this murder is done.
He's got a very Lenny and also sort of energy to him in a lot of ways. Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. And he takes it really serious because somebody, like, makes a joke about killing the bird. And he was like, yeah, we're not going to
yeah, he's like, yeah, go ahead and try it. Go ahead and try it then. Oh, shit. Oh, chill out. And this, like, there's just so much to hate about Chett because they're trying to track this bear. And not only is he just in general being a shit to these dogs right now, but we find out he hasn't fed the dogs in 3 days because he's trying to get them mean so that they will bust into the horse lines and basically just eat a bunch of horses or people, you know, whatever. And on it, look, maybe this is just me being paranoid, but if I was responsible for starving these dogs and the dogs were aware that I was the one that was supposed to feed them, I would be real worried about letting them loose because I think they would come after me for revenge.
This is how I think about it too, and I guess it's not true because this comes up often across different, you know, fantasy stories especially, but sometimes things that are more grounded in reality, right? This idea that a really shitty human being is raising dogs and not feeding them to make them more aggressive and, you know, all that. They never seem to be concerned about the dogs turning on them. But then a lot of times in the story, the dogs will in fact turn on them. But we never see the guy at the beginning being concerned that that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, like, who's going to go and who lets the dogs out? Because whoever does it is going to be the first target, right?
Don't think you could just go back into a regular sentence. I just decided that I was going to do a little thing and then I was going to back away from it. What? How dare you?
Honestly, that was one of the more accurate representations of what goes on in my head. Like, I'll have, like, a partial sentence, and then I'll just have, like, a verse from some fucking 90s, like, and then it'll go right back into, so what am I going to do about this mortgage payment? Like, it's, like, very serious thoughts interspersed with fucking, why is this here?
I'd be thinking about songs in my head. That TikTok I shared about why I can't remember nothing. I'd be forgetting.
That's what I'm saying.
Can't lie. Mostly I just be singing songs in my head. But so he's doing that thing though. That sort of, you know, I'm gonna make these dogs so vicious that they'll do my bidding. Basically, you know, they're gonna not fight on my behalf, but I will loose these dogs on my enemies, kind of thing. I'm gonna weaponize my dogs by starving them and kicking them and being like a general piece of shit to them.
Yeah, that's about it.
Basically,
this is like my least favorite prologue because I just hate this guy so much. Like and the prologues are like whoever is in the prologue always dies pretty much. So it's kind of weird because he doesn't die in this one. We just hear, you know, the third horn, but he's still alive. And I can't tell you how mad I was that this piece of shit was like the exception. And what the fuck?
I think we're supposed to have some kind of comfort that it ends with him pissing himself after he's been talking and relishing in Sam being the one who pisses himself. But I was not satisfied.
That is insufficient.
I didn't.
Thank you.
This his whole fucking fantasy about being a Craster-like person. You know, like that's his big dream. Theon is going to go to the Night's Watch and bang a bunch of maidens, and Chett's going to fucking be the new Craster. Like the
fuck
fantasy.
Bitches make money.
For real though, that's like the best that they can fucking do. Oh, it's pathetic.
And the whole thing he's thinking too with Craster is just like, oh, it's perfect because they can't say no to me. They won't be like, I won't allow it because of and I'm just like, I just fucking hate you so much, man. I just hate him so much. I'm so mad that he doesn't die here. Mad. Thanks for nothing, George. Make me sit through this. I don't even get to watch the dogs rip his throat out. Come on, give me that. Give me a little.
I like to think that that's still on the table.
We'll see, but it shouldn't. I don't want another Chett POV. You know?
Oh, good God. I like to think that because this is not named that, it's just Prologue, that this is a one and done.
So if he gets his throat ripped out, it's from somebody else's POV.
Basically, somebody else will be telling me about that time Chett fucking, died while fishing. So, and the person telling the story won't be sad about it.
Oh, man. Okay, so, okay, here it is. The river's stony banks were bearded by ice, its pale, milky waters flowing endlessly down out of the frost fangs. And now Mance Rayder and his wildlings were flowing down the same way. Thorin Smallwood had returned in a lather 3 days past. While he was telling the old bear what his scouts had seen, his man Kedge White-Eye told the rest of them, "They're still well up in the foothills, but they're coming. Harma the Dog's Head has the van, the poxy bitch. Godie crept up her camp and saw her plane by the fire. That fool Tumberjohn wanted to pick her off with an arrow, but Smallwood had better sense." And he says maybe 20 or 30,000 of them in total. Yeah. And there are 500 of the Night's Watch.
I think like 300. Not even 5.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. I think it is 300. So that's what they are up against, and these dudes want to stay and make a stand. And understandably, I hate to say, Chett's kind of like, what the fuck?
I can both. I don't feel any conflict about thinking that Chett's a terrible piece of shit and being sad that I didn't watch him die, and also being like, oh yeah, he right though. We should probably run. I personally don't feel any conflict around that. The Mormont and the officers feel like they need to take a stand. And it's a mission where they don't expect to come back from. It's one of those, we have to try to stop them.
Right.
Because it's our sworn duty. We don't really expect to be successful kind of things. And it is a reminder why I don't just go around taking oaths willy-nilly.
I love how Jaime's chapter ends with, "You're going to keep your oath?" Wow. Because that is really much more my energy.
Yeah, they're going to do some heroic last stand shit. And, not everybody is on board. Chett and his people. That's the other thing, too, is Chett's still so salty about having lost his position to Sam. And he's got a real, class thing going on. And a lot of unnecessary fat-shaming.
Always.
But a real feeling of, this lordling came up and, and his friend Jon Snow got me out of a pretty cushy job that I had going just because he could read and I couldn't.
There is a moment where he's like, and he never beat me, ever. And I was like, ugh, God,
yeah.
Don't make me feel sad. Don't do it. Stop it.
Yeah. It's not the kind of thing that I even thought about. I don't know why, but I was even remembering how shitty Alistair Thorne was, I thought that there was still enough, discipline at the wall that people weren't just being beat.
I think that's true.
By the people they work for. I don't know
what he's thinking is going to happen, and does he get beat in his new position?
That's what it felt very much like, or maybe he's comparing it to his life before.
I think
he
is,
wall.
But again,
right.
You're not getting beat now either, though. Are you?
The way he's telling the story, it feels like he feels like it's inevitable. Which could again just be a response to how he was raised and feeling like, well, that's just life, and I got lucky with that job with Aemon. But the rest of the life is terrible, and it's inevitable that wherever I land, somebody's going to be beating me, which is just an awful way to view the world. And there's a little bit of, I think, of that, which is not necessarily wrong, and I don't necessarily disagree with it, but a feeling of like, Chett is like, I'm here because I was sentenced to be here. I'm not dying for all this. I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm not dying for the crown that made either death or the wall my only options. Despite your despicable crime, and you did deserve that.
You
shit,
deserve
Chett.
much worse, but yeah,
you know,
100%.
But he's doing this kind of like, I'm just one of the small people. This is not my fight, and I don't want to die for this bullshit. And I want to say, with understanding that he's terrible and what he did is terrible, he's not 100% wrong.
Yeah.
And that sort of, like, we're supposed to be out here ranging, looking for some information, trying to find a couple rangers that we haven't seen in a minute.
Yep.
And that's it. This was not...
And that's kind of like the problem that's been mentioned, is that the Night's Watch is full of criminals now. It used to be something that, like, you know, the fifth-born son who didn't really have any other prospects, he would do this and it would be, like, considered really honorable. And now we've just got a bunch of people who have to be here. And that's not going to have the same kind of, like, vibe, man.
Yep. It is, I don't know what it is, but it's really the fact that the decline at the wall is what allows a lot of the shit that happens in these stories to happen and to go really left, you know, and to leave the realm sort of unprotected in a really significant way, because at some point in their history and their culture, it just, I don't know, I don't think we don't ever hear exactly what happened, but it just sort of degrades over time, you know. The sort of stature of being at the wall is degraded. The quality of men that are sent there gets, you know. I mean, when this story starts, they're trolling the dungeons.
Fucking Yoren had went and got Biter and was going to bring Biter to the wall, which I keep thinking about. And I'm just like, Yoren, look, I understand that you didn't have a lot to choose from, but I don't see it for Biter.
I am really curious how Yoren thought that was going to happen. Like, because they were caged for the trip. So Yoren was aware. But then they were going to get to the wall and take him out of his cage.
Then what?
And
Exactly.
Then what was going to happen? So unless they were taking him up there for food.
Oh, my God.
Which, I don't know. Shit's really bleak up there, so maybe.
Oh, no. Yeah, and honestly, what I don't really get, but the problem for this for me is also that I'm thinking in a way that's like Skyrim, where you can fast travel and just be like, I want to go back to the wall, and you just back at the wall. Because for me, they're like, well, it's your job to protect everybody against the wildlings, and I'm like, yeah, but if you're like explicitly going into this fight knowing that you're just gonna die and it won't have any effect, don't you think it's your responsibility to find a slightly better way to do this? Like, I would expect we go back to the wall and warn them, because this group is traveling super slowly. It's mentioned more than once that they're going like 5 miles a day. Go back to the wall, warn them, and set shit up, and then you can put up an actual fight from a position of strength and having been forewarned, instead of just this nothing, which is wasting hundreds of men that you can't afford to lose right now for nothing.
Right. The only, and I was having a hard time with that as well. Like, and they're making it sound like this is an opportunity to catch this horde by surprise, and they don't want to waste this opportunity. But you'll catch them by surprise. They will recover. And what did you accomplish, though? And short of slowing them down some, it doesn't seem like
exactly.
much. And when someone, because when they're making this announcement to the crew, right, that we're gonna fight, we're gonna die, and all that, somebody in the crowd is like, there are thousands. And then somebody else is like, yeah, and we're going to die. And Mormont is like, well, yeah, many of us. Maybe even all of us. But remember that time 1,000 years ago when we were the only thing that held the darkness back? Sir, that is not an answer.
I'm sorry, man, but this is not quite relevant. You may want to edit that speech a little bit for something that feels like you can relate to the masses. I don't know.
Right, but I really thought I thought that was a setup for Mormont to, like, express to me, the reader, why we had to do this. Like, what good was going to come from it, you know? Like, we know this is unwinnable, but here's the upside. This is what it will accomplish. But that is not what he says.
Nope. He's just basically, this is our job. And I'm like, that's like, yes, but one could argue doing it well is also part of, like, the job. And this doesn't feel like that to me. I don't know.
There's not even a mention of, like, unless I read over it, which is possible. I don't even remember anybody being like, well, first we'll send a bunch of ravens back to the wall, to your earlier
that's
point.
true. Nobody does say anything about that. I mean, we're not
like,
in Sam's POV, so, like, maybe that did happen, but it's not said anywhere.
True. That's true. It's possible that it could have been said, you know, somewhere Chett wasn't around. But I would have appreciated if Mormont
explicitly
had just, included a couple of those details. Yeah, and then that scene ends with them all just sort of raising their swords in the air and reciting the bits of the oath and just being like, yeah, we're just going to go.
And I love Chett. He does it too because he knows that if he doesn't, it's going to attract attention. And he's looking at his friends and he sees them doing it. And at first he's like, good, because we can't blow our cover. And then later he's like, shit, what if they fucking meant it? What if they aren't going to, like, do this after all because they got swayed by that bullshit? And that was honestly my thought in the moment, was just like, he's thinking they're conscious of having to keep their cover. And I'm not super confident that's at the top of, like, Small Paul's list here. Small Paul keeps forgetting when he's supposed to, like, attack also.
Oh my God.
So he keeps talking about, like, second watch when it's supposed to be third watch.
Third watch.
And, this, like, that kind of mistake could completely ruin the entire plan. And I truly don't get why it has to be him if that is so crucial. Like, pick somebody else. He's in his sleep. It's not like you're worried about a fight, are you? I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe they think he's going to be a little bit savvy in his sleep.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that Chett says about, like, doing this is they have to make sure that it's done quickly because you can't, like, let any alarms be raised. But, like, Small Paul is supposed to kill Mormont, right? And I guess he's seen as the biggest threat, even though I'm not sure I would have considered him the biggest threat. Because he's kind of,
I mean, but he's the leader, and I could definitely see being like, all right, well, Mormont's the one who was trying to get us to stay. He's gone. Nobody will stay, because everybody clearly did not want any part of this. Like,
yeah, it's true. Like, Chett wants to kill, like, the officers. He's trying to, and I think he's got, like, 5 people named that are supposed to go. And then the hope is that, one, that they can get away. And that when the rest of the crew wakes up and realizes what's happening, everybody's gone, people will just sort of wander off. They'll make their own break for freedom, Chett is guessing. A lot of these people that are here at the wall are not here by choice, and given the opportunity to bounce, they'll take it rather than, like, getting together a crew to chase them all down and bring them to justice for what they did. So he's kind of betting that people are just as shitty as he is. When it comes down to it. And that's kind of a fair bet.
I mean, in this sort of situation, it does kind of feel like that. It's again, though, he could be the one to go and kill Mormont. Why are they giving this job to a dude who can't keep the plan straight?
That's why I was thinking, like, is it because Small Paul is huge? So are they expecting Mormont to give up, like, the best fight? And that's why I was like, but he's like an old man. do you need your giant man to take him out? So I don't get it either. Can we talk briefly about this with him watching Sam practice with the arrows?
Yeah.
Sam in the book is a much more hapless character than I recall from the show. And it's interesting to me some of the changes in tone the show took with Sam. This Sam, Book Sam, is just a cinnamon roll.
Very much.
You know, he's just sweet and doesn't, you know, but is not like him trying to use this arrow. And then when he finally like strikes the tree or whatever, he's like,
"Did I kill him?"
He's
Chett
so
is like,
excited.
A tree? Wow. Yeah, you definitely killed him.
Yeah, like the enemy is going to stand still while you fucking take 30 minutes to load your bow. I mean, he just completely shits all over Sam's excitement at what he's, kind of accomplished. And Chett is watching and fucking Ed and somebody else.
Bren, I think.
I think you're right, yeah. And he's just like, Jon Snow's other bitches. He's so salty.
Oh, that is exactly what he's thinking, though.
He's so bitter. And I feel bad. My memory has always been shit, but I feel bad because I feel like Chett has, how sometimes there'll be a character, or even in real life, and in their mind, they play a much bigger role in your life. Like, they might imagine you have some, feud going, or that you care about what they think, or you care about getting one over on them, and you don't even realize they exist. I don't remember Chett much from the other two books.
Yeah, no, he's just been there to be a pain in the ass a couple times.
But Chett clearly has a long-standing, violent, rage and bitterness and hate and animus towards Jon Snow. And I'm reading this like, what? This is a lot. And for a second, I was like, did I forget a major plot line involving him? But no, he's just sullen and feels unfairly punished. That's a big part, right? He feels, he feels persecuted and unfairly punished, and dare I say, oppressed.
Yeah.
He feels like people have stolen things from him.
Exactly.
Did you call him an incel a little bit ago? Because
he's got an entitlement about everything.
And I just don't even. And when he's watching Sam and Ed and Grin, I feel like when they realize he's around, they're just like, this motherfucker. Like, that's all the energy they have for him. It's not even, enough to want to fight. They're just like, fuck you, get out of here.
Yeah, he feels very small to them.
He's so unimportant. But in his head, they're like arch enemies.
Yeah, that's the worst. That's so much more upsetting. If they don't even, you don't even warrant their attention. That is so insulting.
I forgot that. So, after the big oath, and everybody, draws their swords and whatever.
Right.
They go to sleep. And when he wakes up, it's snowing.
Oh, that's right.
And he's just like, it's so unfair.
Yeah, because this is going to completely ruin their plans. And I was just kind of, look, man, you're in the fucking north.
Snow was bound to happen.
Yeah, if you feel like everything is going to be undone by snow, this plan probably was destined to fail. He
cries.
Mm-hmm.
He's so upset, he starts crying. And it is just a real moment of it is not a good moment for him, is what it is. And it throws all his plans to shit, because part of the deal was that, that they were going to kill the best trackers in the group as well, right? But now, with the fucking snow, it doesn't matter who they kill, because they'll be so easily tracked.
Yeah.
It's just, it's just bad. This is bad news for Chett.
I really do like, too, that he basically is like, well, it's ruined, but I'm still going to kill Sam, though.
Oh yeah, fuck it. The least I can get out of this. And he's like, I can still, take out my anger and bitterness and hatred on this guy who doesn't deserve any of it, and that's going to make me feel better. And
I'm really wondering how he thinks that's going to go, though, because, like, you kill Sam, and they're just going to kill you, but I guess he figures he's, like, going to die with this current plan anyway?
That's what I can't figure out either, is that whether or not, like, running is... Maybe he thinks that he can just run, and because they have this more important thing to do, like go and stop the wildlings, that no one is going to come after him. He can just kill Sam and run. And they could track him if they wanted to, but Mormont's still alive, and Mormont's not going to, like, split the band up to go after fucking Chett's nut ass, So I think that's what he's banking. I think that's what he's banking. But it doesn't say. But that's the only thing I can think of that makes any kind of sense. And he goes over to, and he's so salty about how comfortable Sam's little tent area is too.
Oh my god, everything.
Everything. Look at this motherfucker over there all snuggled up under his blankets under his little windbreak. Like, he's so mad.
I love, too, that the whole thing with Sam, because he keeps getting annoyed at Sam for, like, being proud of himself for doing shit that Chett's, like, genuinely... He didn't do anything. What? And Sam is getting gassed up by his friends because they're good friends. And it's so, like... remarkable to see, when somebody is trying to actually, like, support another person, like me, did Sam build that windbreak? I bet somebody helped him with that.
Probably.
I bet he didn't do that shit himself. And that's what happens when people like you,
Yep,
Chett.
when you're not like a giant asshole, Chett.
Yeah.
People don't mind helping you do things that you may struggle with on your own.
Yep.
But no, you just out here chatting it up. And now you're mad.
That ass. I will never get over that. That's like, I don't even know what that is, but it's fine. I'm keeping it.
I think that might be a Philly thing that just sort of slipped out. I'm sorry, y'all. Next time we call on people dickheads, which is also a Philly favorite.
Dickhead?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dickhead's like that's universal, right?
Yeah. It's universal, but it's heavily used. It's
Gotcha.
heavily used. Dickhead and dick eaters. Which I don't use dick eater, but that's another one. Yeah. I don't know, y'all. It's just where I live. I don't know what else to tell you.
It's fine. All right. So, yeah, Snow, crying. I'm still going to go kill Sam. And then, this part too. They do not know we are here, or so we must pray. This was during the thing. I forgot about it, though, until he just... And Chett says, they know, you bloody old puss bag. They know. And again, I am in agreement. Of course they know.
Yeah,
You've sent out rangers, and they have none of them come back.
Yeah.
Sir, come on.
That's the other thing, too, that's probably really frustrating for Chett and Chett-like people, where something is so obvious and the people in charge are either lying to you about it because they think that you're not smart, or they themselves are just oblivious. But either one is frustrating, especially when they hold the power of whether you live or die in their hands.
Yeah.
So he is rightfully, like, disgusted with the fact that Mormont would stand and tell a group of grown men, oh, they don't know we're here, when all evidence points to the contrary.
Yeah. And again, surprise only counts for so much when you are outnumbered by, like, 1,000 to 1. So, like, what are we doing? So... he heads over there. He's about to kill Sam.
Yeah, he's all up in there. The knife is out and everything.
And then there's a horn. And again, with the, like, not now, right. Motherfucker.
Like, I cannot catch a fucking break. I'm just trying to kill this motherfucker and bounce, and I cannot get a second to do it.
And he stops, and he figures because, 1, his ranger's returning. 2 is wildlings. that siren, truly, wow.
Well, my siren in the background.
Yeah. 2 is wildlings and 3 is others.
Yeah.
And so he hears the 1, and they blow for a while. So he just is like going on assuming that this is just going to be the 1, and finally somebody has come back.
It's also like this is happening while he's like right over Sam. So Sam wakes up from the horn, and fucking Chett is there.
And bless Sam for not even like seeming to realize the danger that he was in.
Not even. He
little.
Wakes up and he's like, shit, is that a horn? I dreamt that was it 2 horns? And Chett is like, yeah, no, it's not a dream. It's the 2 blasts. But Sam not once is like, can I help you?
No.
Did I? Did you need something?
It's awful big knife in your hand, buddy. What are you gonna do with that, huh? I need Sam to have a little bit more self-preservation here, bucko.
And I just wonder, like, that's Sam, right? Sam does not think that one of his brothers is going to sneak in his tent in the middle of the night and try to murder him, because who honestly is thinking that? And yeah, then they're both like up and awake and talking about the 2 horns, and oh my god, Chett is still saying to himself while he's in Sam's fucking face, oh, there's still an axe for him, right? Like, there's an axe out there with Piggy on it.
I swear to God, he can't, like, get a life. Dude, like, honestly, that's what this comes down to for me. Just get a fucking life.
And
Christ.
Wait, does he say this out loud to Sam?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, he tells Sam. So basically, he's like, yeah, I'm going to kill you still.
Yep.
Okay, I thought that he was thinking that to himself.
I don't think he's saying that, like, I'm going to kill you. I think he's saying, like, the second horn, wildlings, one of them is going to kill you.
Oh, okay. All right, so he's getting off on telling Sam that, like, yeah, you're not going to make it through this.
Yeah.
And Sam reacts with fear, and that makes Chett, like, laugh, and it's probably, like, the best he's felt in a couple days.
Probably.
And he is in the middle of talking about basically, like, fuck them. They're not going to be on us. And then the 3rd horn sounds.
Yep. Yeah, he has a moment of just like, they said the wildlings weren't supposed to get, he starts to do like the bulldog, like, what the fuck? This is total BS. And then all of a sudden there's the other one, and he just pisses his pants.
Yep.
Chett made a sound that was half a laugh and half a sob. And suddenly his small clothes were wet. Oh, man. And that's the end of that one.
Yep. And I guess, like, not to miss the sort of importance of the 3rd horn, right? Because others are not even really supposed to exist, even though they've all seen some things, It's still such a wild thing to wrap your head around. That
wildlings are called
ma'am, I implore you. But so, like, it would be like if we had a horn that let us know the aliens had finally gotten here,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that 3rd horn sounding just fucking changes everything. And then he pisses on himself, and then I laughed and laughed.
All right. So then we go to Jaime, and he is with Brienne and Cleos Frey. And I just kept this dude just, I have such a vivid mental picture of his like weaselly face in my mind. I don't know why he feels so like real to me, but Cleos really sticks with me for some reason. And they are on the boat heading out already, and apparently Jaime like slept through most of this, which he thinks about later that like Tyrion is going to crack up when he hears.
How I slept through my own escape.
Exactly.
Yeah, Catelyn got him pretty sauced up. And this fucking when he's talking
it's
about...
actually pretty smart, because it didn't occur to me that like, well, she's just he's a really good fighter. He's like kind of a legend. So yeah, getting him fucking drunk before you send him out so that he can't cause trouble.
Yep.
That's really pretty smart.
Basically just wraps his ass up in a giant blanket.
And he's just like, nice.
And we find out that she basically just, used her status. She put on her, like, boss voice and was basically like, open the gate.
Yep.
And they just opened the fucking gate.
She says that they're trying to send new terms to Cersei. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's to think about what you can get away with just by your station.
Yeah.
That you can just order people around and people aren't allowed to really question you, even if they have a feeling in their gut, like the fear of maybe making the wrong call is so strong that you just go along,
Definitely.
And there's still that exists in our world as well. Maybe not like as dramatic as this and everything, but
Oh, yeah.
We have people that just can come out and just tell us anything, and we're just like, well, I guess that's just what it is.
Yeah, and it's like, the thing that always makes me so mad about these situations is that the person is obeying because they're afraid, because they are low station. Mm-hmm. And then they are definitely going to be getting in trouble for obeying.
Yep. Can't win.
But, so no matter what, you are just going to be screwed.
Yep. When you and the rich and powerful are playing their little games with each other, the smaller people are always going to be the ones that fucking end up paying a price in some way.
The game of Thrones.
Oh my God.
I had to. You put it right there in front of me.
Did you have to?
I did.
We have already given you a Who Let the Dogs Out.
Listen, it was Who Lets the Dogs Out. I was asking a question. I have an inquiring mind. So there's something that I want to talk about here. Okay. Which is that fucking Jaime is really mean to Brienne.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. He's calling her
it's just
wench.
really different than in the show because Brienne is not ugly in the show at all.
Yeah. There's this sort of homeliness that she's supposed to be, or just straight up like ugly. I don't really like using that word, even when I'm talking about fictional characters. It's weird, but just call a thing. She's supposed to be ugly, right? Gwendolyn. Oh, I can't remember. Christy is drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah,
she is not ugly. I don't care what kind of imagination you have. They tried.
They didn't even though.
They tried to make her sort of plain in comparison to some of the other women who were just beautiful all the time. Mm-hmm. The best they could do was give her like a short haircut. And they're like, that'll have to be it.
God, that really is how it went, though.
Like, that'll do. Mm-hmm. She doesn't have long, beautiful, flowing hair like every other girl in this show, so she's the ugly one. And the other thing, too, the dynamic between the two of them, the actors on the show, even at the very beginning when she, has nothing but contempt for him, and he is, disrespectful and petulant and just all that nonsense. There was not a lot of cruelty.
Yes.
And if there was cruelty implied, it just didn't land. Mm-hmm. Maybe because you had two incredibly attractive people together and there was a weird tension between the two of them, in my opinion, from the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
I feel like the show wanted us to ship them even before that became part of the story for Brienne. Mm-hmm. So this, he's calling her, this is so rude and mean, and not even calling her by her name, calling her a wench.
Says something about how, she looks like a cow a couple of times. He thinks it once, and then he finally just says it to her. Even Cleos is like, dude, can you fucking tone it down a little bit?
Be
Jesus
a little
Christ.
bit, yeah. He's at one point, he's her face is all horse teeth. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, good God.
And this is part of, like, for me, what was so disappointing. And it's not like don't get me wrong, I love Gwendolyn Christie in this role. She was great. Mm-hmm. But, like, Brienne's ugliness is a major part of how she experiences the world. And it just feels like if you're going to completely take that out of it and make it just that she's, like, real tall and likes to fight, mm-hmm. it changes the whole dynamic of it. It's just different, you know? Because the way that he makes fun of her in the show, it tends to be more about how masculine she is.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's just, in a society where masculinity is, like, a woman being more like a man in her behavior can be sometimes almost seen as a pro. It feels like there's a less of a block to overcome.
Yeah. The thing, too, about making her presumed masculinity the anchor for why she is undesirable in the show is that is also something that is not necessarily inherent to her, right? Like, she could take off her armor and mm-hmm. put on a dress and perform femininity in the way that is expected of her station, right? And then that would just be it. She'd be done. She'd be fine. Yep. But ugliness, that is something that is just you, and you carry it, and it doesn't matter what kind of fine dresses you put on or how you perform your station, and none of that matters, right?
Yeah.
And it's difficult to find a stand-in for that, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely agree. It's just there's a belittling combo of, like, meanness and pity that goes with this, and also, like, the whole thing, Brienne is meant to be kind of awkward, and, you know, Gwendolyn Christie is so graceful and just elegant looking. There's just the way he describes her, I really feel like we have all met people like this, where, you know, we, like, there's always this temptation of, like, oh, I'll give you a makeover. And it's like, no, but a makeover can't change the way somebody stands, the way they walk, just the like, clumsiness overall of the way they are mm-hmm. as people. And I understand why they went the way they went for television. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But I just think, you know, because there are some times where they change the appearance of a character and people fucking throw a fit, and it's just like, genuinely, who the fuck cares? It does not actually matter when you get down to it. Like, the whole thing in the books is that he's known for his green eyes, and you cast a blue-eyed actor, it does not matter at all. They'll just leave that out. But with her, it just felt like I like read everything that contained Brienne in a certain way, and it's extremely different if she doesn't look the way that she looks in the books. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, yeah. I just had to address it.
Yeah, it's a similar kind of thing as the conversations that we had about Tyrion and the way he appears mm-hmm. in the books versus, and I guess just, you know, the very basic sort of, well, you know, when you get to Hollywood, like, people are just attractive. That's part of the deal with Hollywood. You know, like, I remember fucking every other week it seemed like there would be these, like, internet stories about Gwendolyn Christie, and they'd be like, you won't believe how amazing this actress looks. And I'd be like, what do you mean you don't believe it? I see her every week. She's fucking gorgeous. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And they would act like it was something like, you know, oh my God, you can't believe it.
This is not a surprise to anyone. But I guess you need your fucking clickbait.
So they are in this little skiff, and oh my God, he is. All right, let's just talk about the haircut. let's just
gonna do it.
Let's just get to it. So this is actually very, very smart. Mm-hmm. It makes perfect sense. And, of course, this is what you do, and I'm a little salty that they didn't do it in the show. But he has his cousin, Cleos, shave his head for him. Him doing it also, too. At one point, they describe it as being manly, The way
manfully.
Manfully.
He chopped away manfully.
What?
Have you not heard that? That gets used like several times in Little Women, and I've always like really weirdly enjoyed it because it always implies something was really hard and they just decided to like keep a stiff upper lip and go through it. The one time it's used in that I really remember in Little Women, poor Jo tries to cook and she doesn't realize that she put salt in the cream instead of or salt in the strawberries instead of sugar, and she let the cream sour because she left it out too long. And so poor Lori is trying to eat this like strawberries and cream that's supposed to be lovely. And it says like, she noticed an odd pucker around his mouth, but he continued to shovel away manfully. And finally she's like, what is it? Salt instead of sugar and the cream is sour. And she just like wails and runs off into the kitchen for a minute. But yes, I mean, it feels like it works for this particular scenario of just like, he's doing his fucking best. It's the knife's problem.
He's just hacking away as best as he can.
Yep.
And he thinks to himself that he doesn't look like Cersei. And that she would hate this.
She's a real Jenna Maroney.
Oh my God, it's true. Holy shit, it is true though, isn't it?
Those who don't know, there's a storyline in 30 Rock where Jenna's character falls in love with a guy who does her, like, drag of her.
He's a Jenna Maroney impersonator.
A Jenna Maroney impersonator. And it's something.
Oh, it really is something. That whole relationship was just really something. She's on a sexual walkabout.
That makes me think of the Hotation in Insecure.
Oh my God, that's right.
I gotta put him in my Hotation. Some good television out there, ladies and gentlemen.
There really is. So they're going down this river, and there's a bit where he keeps trying to be like, well, if I didn't have these chains on, I could help you row.
He won't shut up with that.
He really won't.
It's not clever. Can you stop? Ugh, tiresome.
And he's thinking about all the vows he took that Catelyn made him swear in order to like go along with this plan. And this makes me feel like we need to talk about her for just a second. So she puts a knife to his throat or a sword to his heart and makes him swear to not do a bunch of shit that she has no control over whether he actually does or not.
Yep. She
makes him swear on his honor that he'll never take up arms against Stark or Tullys. Swear that Jaime will compel Tyrion to release her daughters. Just a lot of shit. She's just taken on GP. And guys, friends, listeners, this is not a good idea.
I mean, what would you suggest?
I don't know that if I have all the answers, but I don't know. This is not a good. And so like she's betting on Jaime having honor.
Yep.
Now I remember a little. I don't know how much differently it's going to go in the book, but I know that from the show that Jaime is supposed to have honor. It's supposed to be like one of the things, right? Like he has this reputation as being Kingslayer, and he bears that sort of burden as though it doesn't really bother him, because he did a thing that was needed to be done, right?
Right.
But he has this sort of reputation as having no honor whatsoever. So on its face, I would be like, she is asking this man who the whole realm knows has no honor to pledge on his honor to do all these things. I feel a little bit weird because obviously I'm spoiled, right? So I know that Jaime is supposed to actually have honor. So, but the thing is, Catelyn is not supposed to know that. I don't think she's supposed to know.
No.
Right? So she has to be operating with the same information that the rest of us have, which is that this guy is not the guy to be pledging anything. Right? So,
I mean, I think she says that herself in the conversation that she has with him. Because he says something about, I'll pledge it on my honor. And she's like, a Lannister's honor?
She says to him, swear on your honor as a knight, on your honor as a Lannister.
Mm-hmm.
She says that to him.
But I'm saying in the first conversation where in the last book, when they have,
right.
She says something about how his honor is worthless, but then she turns around and has him make a bunch of vows.
Yeah. So this is what I am confused. And I guess really I don't think I'm supposed to think that this is a good idea. I think I'm supposed to be like, this is a terrible idea. But this is an act of a desperate woman.
Yeah,
who,
this is her Hail Mary pass.
Wants to try the last thing she could think of that could possibly maybe give her some of her children back. Mm-hmm. And that even she is aware that this is kind of folly. Which is a word I don't get to use often.
Folly?
But it is incredibly frustrating for me to read because it just feels like a wrong move. And her character is somebody who, one minute I'm thinking that like she gets it and she's really smart. And then the next minute I'm like, bitch, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know. And it just, maybe that's actually more realistic. Maybe in real life,
True.
that's really how it goes. One minute you think somebody is on to something, and the next minute you're like,
Sucks through teeth.
So it's just like this little bit. And he says, Jaime thinks to himself, like, is a fucking oath even an oath if I'm all fucked up? Like, doesn't even count, And
that really was for me the main question. Like, how seriously do they take it when you're being forced at sword point and drunk? Like, come on.
And Jaime thinks to himself, like, you know what? It's not even really me. She is banking on Tyrion being honorable. She needs me to just get the message, right? So now I'm swinging back. Like, I'm swinging to, like, what the fuck is this lady doing? Back to, okay, maybe that does make a little bit more sense, So I don't know what to do with her. She's a very frustrating character to read. Yeah,
very much so. And like I said, a lot of people did not like her. On the show, they have her, like, there were a lot of people who were particularly mad at her because of the way they depict her treating Jon. And a lot of the way she treats Jon badly in the book is, like, just the way she thinks about him. It's not actually her actions. There is just that one time where she says it should have been you that got fucking pushed off the tower. But I feel like this in particular, like these sorts of moments are so very frustrating and also make her so interesting. And she's just a difficult character, man.
Yeah. I think, too, the fact that her main role in these books is as mother. And we have a lot of notions in our head tied up with that. You know, we come to that with a lot of preconceived notions about what exactly a mother is supposed to be like, how she's supposed to behave, what her priorities are supposed to be, all that sort of stuff. And that's part of what makes the Jon thing so complicated is that, yes, she's not his mother. So we get to watch her behave as a mother with her true-born children, watch her be kind of a cunt to Jon, and it makes our feelings towards her very complicated. Like, we like to see mothers as being kind of, like, pure and one-sided.
Yeah.
And you can kind of say the same thing about Cersei, like, on the other end of the spectrum, someone else who takes motherhood and almost twist it into something ugly.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I'm trying to think about the other women in the story now. You know? I don't want to get too sidetracked. I'll think about that on my own time. But anyway, so this moment ends with Jaime coming to the same realization that I just did, which is maybe she's not as dumb as I thought.
Yeah. So then there's just the constant back and forth between him and Brienne, where she's telling him not to call her wench, and he's telling her not to call him Kingslayer, and she's like, thing is, though, you are, though. And also, you're a fucking monster. And he's like, I'm a monster. And she's like, you fuck your sister, you threw a kid off a tower. And I was like, you know what, Brienne, you are making some pretty fucking solid points here. It's really easy for me to forget all the shit that he did.
How about Jaime balking at characterization that Bran is innocent?
I could not. He was spying on us, bitch. He was climbing for fun, and you were there.
Right. And he then is just like, it was so hard on that journey. I couldn't fuck my sister the whole time.
And when Cersei is rightfully like, what the fuck were you thinking? He's like, I was thinking that, if anything goes wrong, I'll kill Ned Stark.
Oh my God.
And she's like, what? Oh, cool. So what will Robert do? I will kill Robert. I'll kill him too. Whatever. The war for Cersei's cunt.
He is so in love with himself and his wit and his, he's also in love with his devotion to Cersei, which is a whole other thing that's separate from being in love with Cersei herself. But
yeah.
That's a whole other conversation.
That's true. And he says that he has never wanted any woman but Cersei. Mm-hmm. So apparently, yeah, she's the only one that he slept with.
Yeah. I like, too, that there's a quick moment when, where is it? Where, it's the cousin again asking him not to, like, be such an asshole.
Unsuccessfully.
But he realizes after the name calling, he calls her Lady Brienne just kind of like almost like not even thinking about it. Mm-hmm. But he catches how uncomfortable she feels and how uncomfortable she looks when he says that. Mm-hmm. And he realizes, okay, that's a weak spot. I'm going to make sure I remember that.
Yeah.
And that's just the worst for anybody.
Would you prefer Sir?
Yeah. Yeah.
Shut up.
Exactly. And then he says, I fear not, you can trick out a milk cow. Mm-hmm. In a bar. Like, basically, he's just saying you can dress up a pig, but that doesn't make her a lady.
Yep.
Or I think cow is what he was going for in this metaphor. But whatever, you guys get the gist. And it's just, like, again, really, really cruel. Ugh.
Yeah. He's much more of an asshole in the books than in the show. In the show, they make him rakishly charming. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, like, he does bad stuff, but, there's always this sort of, like, this vibe of, like, yeah, but, like, come on, he's fun, though.
Yeah, yeah.
And in the book, he's a real, like, douchebag. He winds up sort of, like, taking some of it back in this chapter because he saves her instead of.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised that happened that way this quickly, too, I have to admit. Because this is, so contentious. And the other thing Brienne is doing also, she's so serious. She takes herself and her oaths and everything so seriously.
Yeah.
She keeps telling him that he is under her protection. Mm-hmm. Even though he doesn't deserve any, consideration, because she's sworn to do this thing for Catelyn, that she's not going to let anything happen to Jaime, because that would be
a violation.
Basically, yeah, it would be in the way of what she promised to do and fulfill her promise to Catelyn. She's got to protect Jaime. And he's still just being such a cunt to her.
Oh my God.
And then, so they're going along, and then they come across a tree with just, like, bodies hanging, women. Mm-hmm. and there's a bit of where I think does Brienne assume it's the Lannisters at first, and then they get closer and realize they read like the sign and realize that it wasn't, and he's like, what do you think about that?
Yep. Yeah, this was any time that he gets a chance to just like fucking stick it to somebody. And the they lay with lions moment. I had forgotten about this like being explicitly, but yeah, another thing where women cannot fucking win.
Yeah.
Small folk can't win. Women especially cannot win.
Like, the thing that's really fucked up too about that is, even though it's off page, that before they hung these women for laying with lions, they did all the kinds of raping.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But and so Brienne wants to stop and give them a proper burial because this is too much. You can't just like walk by and see this and pretend that you didn't see it. Mm-hmm. And they're wondering, like, okay, well, we know it wasn't the Lannisters did this because of the note, but, like, what do we think happened here? And there's talk that maybe it was Barrett Dondarrion who's done it. Maybe it was Bolton's who've done it. Mm-hmm. And then we find out, or Jaime finds out, that Bolton actually is holding Harrenhal. And he's like, ooh, that's not great.
He does not like that.
That's not good for me.
Yeah.
And she tells him, this is when she tells him about being under her protection. And she's like, I'm actually a pretty fucking good fighter. I'm as good as you are. And she tells him that she was one of Renly's Rainbow Guard. Mm-hmm. And he... Oh, God, you guys. You and 6 other girls? I mean, do we have to do this?
Jaime? Why are you like this?
And I love her response is just, she turns red, which makes me sad because she's really embarrassed here. But she's just like, we have graves to dig. And she just like leaves him sitting there.
I wish there was a way to get her to like not be affected by the shit he says, because he's just like, it's such a classic bully thing. Mm-hmm. They get a reaction and it's exciting, and then they just keep doing it. And I'm like, I wish there was a way to turn this off for you, Brienne.
I wish it was a way to turn it off for me or any of us. Like, when someone is needling at you and they've got your source, your sore point or whatever, they just keep poking at it, and you can tell yourself, I'm not going to react, I'm not going to give them the satisfaction, but that shit is hard. It's really hard not to have a reaction.
The other day, speaking of people who know how to needle, Owen and he has this little pillow that I got him. It's like it's like the size of like a piece of printer paper, and he really loves this for use in bed, but what I got it for him was for in the car or at the office, because he often doesn't have time to come home, but he needs to nap. So I was like, oh, you have a little travel pillow, but then it turns out he just likes it as a pillow, and so it never has left the house.
It hasn't traveled?
Nope, not a bit. And I got it for him, and I thought that it came with like a removable cover that you could wash, and it turns out no, there's just filling inside.
That's weird.
Yeah, and I bought him a new one right before we went on our trip, and he was like, well, why? Why? I mean, this is fine. And I was like, well, there's no way to wash it. Like, it'll maybe still be wet in the middle, and then it'll mildew. Like, I don't think so. No. And it was only like $15. I'll just buy you another one. And he was like, well, it's not that dirty. And I said, babe, I bought this for you 3 years ago.
Oh, my God.
And he's like, it wasn't 3 years. And I went and I checked my Amazon, and it was 2 years and like 5 months. And he would not let it go that it was not 3 years. It was less than 2.5 years, actually. You weren't right about that. 2 years and 4 months. Is that 3 years to you? No, I don't think so. It was so enraging. I swear to God. Because, look, not washing it for 2 years and 4 months is also very, very gross and bad. It's not better. But, oh man, he just like kept coming. I was trying so hard to just let it go, and he kept saying shit. And I was ready to kill him.
It's like, the thing is though, like, you're usually right about stuff like this, and you went to Amazon
right, and I maintain that.
You went to Amazon for the receipts, and the receipts failed you.
They did not, and I will not consent to it being portrayed in such a way. My point to stand, anything over 2 years, I feel like is still a win for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and if you want to circle back to the important part of this story, is that pillow still in your bed?
No. I got him to throw it out and got him another one. Admittedly, I think I bought the other one like without telling him and was just like, okay, so this is gone now. But, you know.
Listen, sometimes you got to make those hard calls. This is marriage. It's serious business.
Sometimes dudes don't want to throw away shit that needs thrown away. If you've got a hole in your boxers, throw that shit out. If your toe is sticking out of your socks, throw that shit out. Socks are like $5 for a pack of 20. It's fine. You know, like, look, if I could darn a sock so that we wouldn't waste, I would still just buy another pack. I'm going to be perfectly honest with y'all.
I was wondering how this sentence was going to end. And it ended the way I expected it to.
I probably could darn a sock.
I mean, you could, but why would you?
It just feels knobbly in your shoe. It's no good. Nobody wants a darn sock.
It's like that one little knot, even though it's so tiny. Mm-hmm. You can still feel it. You're like,
it's like a pebble.
Everybody turns into the fucking Princess and the Pea. You can feel that little knot.
That's so true. Oh, the worst. You ever have that, like a seam inside your shoe?
Oh my God.
And you're just like, why? And it's only on my left foot. Like,
there are like, oh my God, wearing a pair of tights and the seam isn't right. Oh. I have stopped and gone and used a ladies' room and taken my shit all the way off just to put it back on the right way because it'll just drive me crazy.
Oh, that's so true. I forgot about the one with tights, especially the ones that have like the little especially fishnets have that like diamond that goes under your feet that's actually solid.
Yep.
And if you have wide feet, that diamond is not enough. It just makes things sort of weirder. And then your toes are sticking through that fishnet because it doesn't quite reach. It's all just, yeah. Anyway.
It's poorly designed is what it is.
Truly, yeah. But also, like, what else are we going to do? Put a full crew neck sock at the foot of my fishnets? I don't feel like that's going to look good either.
Can you imagine? You're standing there in fishnets, but it looks like you got black angle socks.
It's hot. It's very spicy. You know what? For all I know, that would become something like if that's how they were made originally. That would just become something that was sexy, probably. You know, like our tastes would have been molded by it.
We do adapt. Mm-hmm. Oh shit! Okay, so yeah. So she tells him that she was in the Rainbow Guard. He mocks that because that's all he does is mock. And this is when they see a little bit of the sails of one of the boats from the River Run, I guess. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Out looking for them. I'm assuming they're looking for them. Maybe they're just out.
I think they're out looking for them.
It feels
because
very much.
Because he's given orders to take Jaime back. Mm-hmm. Is what the guy says. Like, I'm under orders to take you back alive if I can.
Okay. And they do this sort of like hide and seek thing for a little bit where they are trying to like outrow, which is nonsense. Like a galley ship is coming after them, and then, but Brienne's pretty good though, because Jaime is watching and he's just like, she is managing to like not crash us into a million pieces through this river. She must know it, and she's like, yeah, no, I fucking grew up on an island where the fuck this is what I do.
I love this. There's so many moments of just like sheer competence from her, you know? And the, like, even at the beginning, he's just like, look, this bitch ugly as fuck, but she can row, though. Like, look at this.
He's like, there's ropey muscles in her arm.
He's looking at Cleos, who's just like, fucking backache. Listen, rowing is no joke, kids.
Oh my god! And so they're thinking about, like, I think it's Jaime. It might have been Brienne. But I think it's Jaime's talking about the type of ship it is, right? He's like, it's got like so many oars. It's got 9 oars, so it's at least 18 people plus probably this extra many. And Jaime's like, yeah, we could take them. And Cleos is like, there's 18.
And he's like, more like 25. And there's 25 plus archers. I fucking hate archers.
And Jaime is like serious though. He's not like bullshit. He's like, yeah, we could fucking take them. And you know, if we die, we just fucking die.
Yeah.
And we as readers are getting that sort of, oh, he's fucking dead ass serious right now. This is not a joke for him. Like, he would fight these motherfuckers, and if he died, he'd be like, that's just how that shit happens.
Yeah.
And he looks at Brienne, who says again that, you know, you're under my protection, and he looks at her and realizes that she's serious too. And
she's the hound with teeth.
Listen, this is like, but he's laughing kind of. So he realizes that she's serious, and it's not like respect yet.
No,
it's just kind of like, aw.
Yeah, this moment, there's a moment too when he's like in the midst of this where he's thinking to himself, Tyrion would come up with something really smart to do right here. All I can think to do is like grab a sword and fucking go at it. But my brother, he would come up with something. Yeah. And I really appreciate these moments of him being like, I recognize my limitations. I know that I am not going to come up with something clever here. And that for some reason, my brain only works in like fight mode. That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I bring to the table. But I make sure that is pretty good, though.
Yes.
Like, it might be all I can do, but I do it really, really well.
Oh, God. Okay, so they go back and forth a little bit with the arrows. I say back and forth. They don't have an archer, so it's really just back. And then he looks at Brienne as an arrow lodges in the mast. One passes within a foot of him, and he's watching her angling behind an island. And it says, Jaime watched her eyes. Pretty eyes, he thought, and calm. He knew how to read a man's eyes. He knew what fear looked like. She's determined, not desperate. So again, with just like he's being surprised at her overall attitude, but still really not believing she has anything to back it up with.
Yeah, he's being surprised by her attitude. He's being surprised by her competence and her ability. It hasn't morphed into respect yet, but it's, I don't know. It's changing the way he's looking at her just a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
So she ends up telling him to go ahead and take an oar, and he thinks to himself, all right, well, it's not a sword, but you know what? I could break a man's face. Which is what I think whenever I pick something up.
I could break a man's face with this. Sir Cleo shoved the oar into Jaime's hands and scrambled aft. So they go back and forth, and Jaime is like, hey, how about we just, with the other ship, the other boat, why don't we just do a single combat, bruh? How about that? How about we just do that? And he's like, I'm not a fucking moron. Which, honestly, it's sort of respectable to me that these guys are like, I know I would lose.
Mm-hmm. Why would
Come on.
Yeah. Why would you think that I would be interested in such a bargain? Like,
Yep.
what makes you think? And Jaime is like, look, I'll fight you with the chains on.
Oh my God. I can't.
And the guy is just like, because Jaime's like, what you scared of? And he's like, oh, well, I'm not scared of you, which is a lie. Yes, you are.
Yeah, he is.
But he says, I'm not scared of you. If I had the choice, I would fight you. But I have these orders to bring you back.
Well, I would do it, but my mom said that I had to go home, so, I can't. But I would, so.
Just so you know, I'm not scared. So they go back with the arrows some more, and they come out of one of the cutoffs, and
Brienne hops on out.
Yeah, she dips, and it's just him and Cleos left in the little skiff thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't look great. And
I had forgotten what she does.
This
here.
is amazing.
Yeah.
If this is in the show, I have completely forgotten it, so whatever. I didn't see this coming. It was just fantastic.
I don't think this is done in the show the same way.
She climbs up and drops a giant ass boulder onto the fucking ship.
Mm-hmm.
And it is like the most badass thing I've seen in a minute. It's amazing.
I love this so much. And the boulder like cracks in half, and one lands on this poor oarsman's leg.
God.
And probably just crushes it into paste.
Oh, absolutely.
They don't have a way to get home. Like, he says something about how they have a long walk back to River Run. I was like, not for that oarsman. Like, what do they do? I mean, he didn't die, but like...
I mean, well, he probably drowned when that shit went under the water, because the other fucking piece, like, goes all the way through.
It punches a hole right in it.
And the ship starts taking on water, so, like... Yeah, that guy, that's it for that guy.
Yeah, that might be true. He just drowned.
Yeah.
Now, that's better then, because otherwise he's just like hanging around screaming, and they're looking at each other like, are you going to do it? I'm going to do it.
There's a line that says that fucking, from the way they were splashing, neither man could swim. Like, this is no good.
Truly.
No good.
The guy's going up in boats and not knowing how to swim. How? Why would you do that even? Just take 10 minutes to learn how to swim, man. Like, come on.
How are you from a place called River Run and you can't swim?
That's like, I'm not sure that they are from River Run. They might be like, but
I mean, this is the Riverlands, though, right? They're from River Run. They're from Trident. They're somewhere. This is a water-centric place, is my point.
I'm just like, Rob's men are here, and they're like just Northmen.
That's true. That's true.
So, I don't know. I guess there's no places to swim in the north. They have hot springs. I guess you don't have to swim in a hot spring. You just sit and chill.
I love, too, that Jaime is watching all this, and he says, I could not have planned it better myself. And I feel like, does he know that this is her? He hasn't seen her yet.
I think he assumes it's her.
I wish I could see.
I think that I couldn't have planned it better myself is like, she doesn't know that she's actually helping me escape.
Okay.
Kind of thing, Yeah, basically, like, she thinks she's helping us get away, and that's adorable, because she's actually set this up so perfectly so that I can get the fuck out of here and kill her. But then he doesn't.
Yeah, he does not. She comes up, and it looks like maybe he could have just cracked her on the head with that oar that he has in his hand. And he just reminded us could break a fucker's face. And instead holds it out for her to grab to pull her back in. Mm-hmm. And then immediately thinks she's even uglier wet. How could that even be possible?
I swear to God, Jaime, why are you like this, though?
Yeah. And he calls her ugly. No, he calls her stupid. I'm sorry. He calls her stupid. And he says, we could have just sailed on without you. I guess you think I have to thank you or something.
Yeah.
And she's just like, yeah, I don't want your fucking thanks.
I fucking love her so much.
Like I did that because I swore an oath. This is not about you, Jaime Lannister. And yeah,
I am uncomfortable when we are not about me.
What is that from?
That's a tweet that somebody made that got shared all over the place because it really speaks to a lot of us, I think. I think it's I am feel uncomfortable when we are not about me. And it ends with a question mark.
Oh, that's amazing.
Maybe I'll use that meme as my image for this episode. So that's the end of the chapter. So, how do you feel about your first Jaime chapter?
You know what? It's fun to be in someone else's head.
Mm-hmm,
you know, I really enjoyed that. It was a nice bit of a change, and he's he's a fucking son of a bitch, but he's also kind of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
So, like, I don't want to enjoy this as much as I ended up enjoying it. Yeah, I feel like kind of shitty, but yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, he has a real the sardonic aspect of his humor. I feel like he could have been a really good online personality, some kind of influencer for fucking CrossFit or something. But yeah, he is one of those that I think is really fun, even though he's such a dick. He really is, but he is also fun in his way. There's something about him, as much as he's mean-spirited and a bully, he's also just good at observing in an objective way sometimes that other characters are not. You know, Theon cannot accept when the people that he thinks are against him are giving him actual good advice. He doesn't want to hear it. He all he can think is, I have this plan of how this is going to go, and if your thing does not align with me accomplishing that, I am not going to hear it. Mm-hmm. And Jaime has a much more with Brienne, he's coming at this from, I'm with her. And then gradually keeps being like, oh, word? Oh, shit. Oh, okay. Wow. And reevaluates.
Yeah, he seems to be able to adjust in real time.
Yeah.
Both his expectations of a situation and of people, his evaluations of people, he's also willing to check and adjust. At first I think you're just this, but then I've noticed that you might be a little bit more than that, and I can readjust. Where a lot of our other characters are just sort of static in how they think and how they perceive the world around them. Mm-hmm. And I like that you mentioned that he seems willing to take on new information in a way that a lot of our other characters just seem incapable of doing.
Yeah. A lot of people seem incapable of doing.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I really like the whole thing with him thinking about the oaths and whatnot, and how valid is it if she made me do it this way? Even that is a kind of critical thinking that a lot of people just don't participate in. You break an oath and you are a fuck,
right.
Versus I said he has my energy about it, and I was that a joke? Not really. Because honestly, that's my attitude about promises in general. There are so many plot lines where it's just, I made a vow, and it's I don't think that the person who made you make this vow would enforce that in this particular circumstance were they here to see what's actually going on. Mm-hmm. But you are so married to this fucking concept of keeping your vow because of your own pride that you are not willing to adapt at all to what's actually going on.
Right.
And that is, for me, promises are, I'm going to do my best. But if shit is going to go a way that I can't possibly predict or foresee, how could I have made this promise and keep it in that kind of circumstance?
Right.
It just, like, I don't like promises. There's too many unknowns out there. I don't want to fucking sign my name to anything. You are going to get my best effort, and I will promise you that, and that's as good as I am going to do. That's what I've got for you.
I think we worked that into the vows at the wedding.
Yeah, I think I did. I said something like, best effort, okay? I think I literally did say, though, I'm going to try every day to be, like, a better partner was, like, my thing. And that's something you can actually promise.
That's something you can actually have control over.
Yeah.
When so much you can't. I also appreciate, too, that Jaime doesn't consider himself all that smart.
True. Yeah, he knows his limitations.
Right? And yet, he is self-aware in a way that some of the other characters are not. Yep. And, like, to everything that we just said about him being able to take in and process new information and adjust accordingly is definitely a type of intelligence. It might not necessarily be like the scheming or the strategizing or whatever that we get from, like, say, Tyrion or even Cersei to some extent, but most of our other characters. But it's definitely a valid type of intelligence, and he has accepted his role as just like the fighter, and doesn't seem to be aware that he has these other,
because he's never had to rely on that. In this sort of universe, you can fight and actually beat literally everybody you've ever fought. Yeah. You're good. You don't need to be critical thinking out here.
Yeah, especially, with his talent and his attractiveness and the family he comes from. Like, he literally doesn't have to think about anything if he doesn't want to.
Yep.
I really enjoyed his POV. That was fun.
Cool. And so how about Chett? Did you love Chett?
Did not love Chett. There has never been a Chett. Well, I won't say that because there might be.
There's a listener right now going, say it.
Nope,
say it, RoShawn.
Nope, I'm not going to say it. I will say that there is a long history of unlikable Chetts in pop culture. And it's really curious to me. I wonder how. Because, like, why? What is wrong with Chett? Why are so many? But there's,
something's going on with it.
Like, in all the 80s movies, there's always, like, a bad guy named Chett. I think,
That's
like,
true.
the older brother in Weird Science was named Chett.
All right. Well, speaking of listener names, I'm going to say hi to new patrons. This week we've got Grace Tibb, Ryan J. Poole, and Hayden Jack Cowell. Welcome to all of you delightful people. We love you so much. Hope that you guys are enjoying the patrons-only content and have joined the Discord and the conversation there. And just a reminder to folks that I'm posting the anniversary, Unspoiled Anniversary episodes on the Patreon feed, but I'm leaving them available to non-patrons. So there's no, like, good central feed for me to post this stuff to. So that's where it's going. And if you're interested in listening to, several hours, I think it adds up to almost, like, 4.5 hours of us talking about the journey that Unspoiled has come on and the people who have co-hosted with me, joining me for a few minutes to talk about how they found Unspoiled and everything. It was a really fun couple of episodes to do. They were live on Crowdcast, so there's, like, commentary from the listeners who are in the chat as well. And, so that's available on Patreon for non-patrons.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. So thank you guys again so much for listening. And I'm pretty excited to be getting into this book. Woo! We're getting into it now. And until next time, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
Joffrey, Cersei, Walder Frey, Meryn Trant, Tywin Lannister.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.